Welcome into our lives.
And welcome to the Expanders Club podcast.
We're so happy to have you.
Join us as we embark on a journey of deep exploration, soul searching, and asking the hard questions.
With the goal of truly understanding the most aligned, empowered, and purposeful versions of ourselves.
We want to live an extraordinary life, and we're willing to dig deep to find out what it takes.
Buckle up. You're about to meet a new version of yourself, an extraordinary one. Hello, my lovely friends. How are we doing? The last days of May, and it feels good. It feels like a serious energy shift. Are you guys feeling it? Are you excited for summer? Can you feel we're in a week where the cosmos are very aligned in our favor? Maybe the first time this has happened in 2025. So enjoy it. Enjoy it. Super excited to be bringing you this episode this week. It feels like divine timing. It is with an incredible friend, psychic, energetic healer, spiritual strategist, Christina Trifero, and you guys are going to love her. I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. We start to kind of peel back the veil a bit on what it's like to be a psychic, Christina's path to getting there, what a psychic experience with her should and shouldn't feel like, what a psychic experience in general shouldn't feel like, and just a lot of really great nuggets of spiritual wisdom. It's been one of my favorite conversations to date, and we also have some really big and exciting news that we're sharing in this episode, and I want to tell you so badly right now, but you are going to have to wait until the end of the episode for Christine and I to reveal it. This episode brought up a lot of really great points and wisdom for me. And there are two things I want to talk to you guys about today. First of all, I talk about it more in detail in the episode, but Christina and I did a session swap where I did a session for her. She did one for me. And I'm not going to go into detail because I talk about it in the episode, but I was having this issue that really just set my nervous system off. And she helped me through her session and the energy work that she does. She helped me to calm my nervous system. And something that I really realized is when our nervous systems are off and not in a good place, it is so hard to do the work. It's so hard to use our tools. It's so hard to think rationally. It's hard for those things to penetrate the unease and lack of safety or whatever anxiety, whatever things are coming up from our nervous system being dysregulated. So I share that to say, one, I experienced this huge shift. The moment that my nervous system felt better and I didn't feel so reactive, I was able to completely shift my perspective and use my tools and kind of reason with myself and work through things. And again, I'm sharing this because I think that we want to skip ahead, right? We want to manifest, we want to create the dream life. We want to do the activities, but we forget to check in on our baseline, our nervous system and our energetic bodies. And I think the work really starts with, hey, if you can get control of your nervous system, if you can get your nervous system in a good place, if you have a good relationship with your energetic body and are taking care of it and cleansing it and know what your own energy feels like, then all the other work is easy. And actually, you can skip 100 steps, right? In my opinion, you can skip 100 steps and go into the wholeness and the knowing and the connection. And if you're not able to regulate your nervous system, if you're not able to be in touch with your energetic body, you're just kind of whirling around in this tornado of grabbing onto random things. Yes, I want to manifest and I know the process of how to manifest, but you can't because you're not manifesting from a place of grounded wholeness and clarity because your nervous system and energetic body are off and not aligned. So I hope that makes sense, but it was just this huge, beautiful example for me of hey, I am able to do this work every single day because I've done the foundational work to calm and have control over and listen to and be in tune with my nervous system and my energetic body. And that work isn't always sexy. It isn't always the fun. It's not always the, hey, snap my fingers, I'm manifesting, look at my dream life. But it is so rewarding, and it is so necessary to then make the next things true and possible and make them flow easier and make it all be much more magnetic. So hopefully that helps some of you out there that are trying to figure out where to start with it all, or why certain things aren't working. Check in with your nervous system and check in with your energetic body and see how it's feeling and do the work. Okay, excited for this episode. Like I said, Christina is an incredible guide and healer and psychic. And one of the things we touch on is, what the psychic experience should be like, and how to know, one, if it's right for you to have to go to a psychic, if it's the right time, how to get the most out of your experience, what to ask, what you should be seeking versus what you shouldn't. And I love that part of the conversation. And it just brought up this really clear truth for me that I wanted to share with you guys, that, there's going to be a day, I believe, in our lifetime where we're not impressed by the gifts, right? The psychic gifts, because we actually all have them. And Christina and I talk about this also in the episode. We all have these gifts. We all have this wisdom. It's a matter of, have you done the work to access it, right? But that's not how we should be measuring our excitement or our trust in a psychic reader or a psychic healer or an oracle, or, whatever the title is. It's not about, like, the impressive part is not, can they give you the wisdom? Can they pull wisdom from the quantum? Can they pull wisdom from the universe? That is not the impressive part. The important and the impressive part is, are they able to translate that wisdom in a way that helps guide you to your transformation, to your highest path? So that's what you should actually be looking at. Not like, hey, are you a psychic? That's enough. Do you have the skills to connect to the universe, to connect to the divine, to open the Akashic records, to get this information to me? That is not, like, obviously that's like where we start, right? But that's not where we end. You have to go further and be able to understand and trust that they then have the ability to take the information that they receive and share it in a way that is for your highest and best good, and that leads to your transformation. And that is actually the art. That is the art, the gift, and the most impressive thing about a lot of the healers that I work with, talk to, hopefully me and Christina, is that the ability to translate it and share it in a way that helps you transform, that helps expand you, because that should be our goal. Our goal is not to, do party tricks and show you, like, hey, we have this connection. That is, like, almost the least impressive part. Also, because you could do it for yourself if you just believed it and had done the work, right? That's almost the least impressive part. The impressive part is the ability to hear, see, know the information, and to translate it and share it in a way that will lead you down the path to your highest, brightest life. So I want to leave you with that, because I think that, we all want access to this information. There's lots of characters in the spiritual world that you can go to and find help from, but I urge you to be discerning and to ask the right questions and to understand what you're looking for and what you're getting into with a psychic reading and psychic experience. All right, friends, I am so excited to introduce you to Christina Trifero, an incredible psychic medium, energy healer, and spiritual strategist. And I cannot wait to hear what you get out of this episode. I cannot wait to hear what you think about the news we share, and how you'd like to engage. And I highly recommend you check out more of Christina's work, follow her on Instagram, check out her website, book a session with her. She is truly gifted. You can find her, I'll link everything in the show notes, but you can find her at her website, spiritual-curiosity.com, or on Instagram at Christina Trifero with 3 O's at the end. And like I said, I will make sure this is all in the show notes so you can find her and follow her. She does great weekly updates. She has a lot of great content, and just a lot of great wisdom to share. So Grateful for you all. If you don't know, I am an oracle and an expansion coach, guiding you toward your best, brightest life, guiding you toward your soul's purpose and your soul's calling. It is my absolute joy and most favorite thing to do in this world is to help people in that way, to help people on their spiritual journey. So if you'd like to learn more about me, you can follow me at _Brooke_Harris on Instagram. And you can also find a link there for my oracle work to book a session if you feel called. Alrighty, lovelies, grateful for you all, grateful for Christina and this super expansive conversation. See you on the other side. Christina, my friend, I am like giddy for this conversation and to have you here. Welcome to the Expanders Club podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited too. We've just
You guys,
all giggled.
I mean, I think I should like give a little teaser of why we're extra giddy. I mean, we're going to get into some really cool and fun stuff, and you are an incredible human and expander, and we have a lot to share. But we also have something really cool that we're going to share at the end of the episode that you and I have been working on for our listeners.
I can't wait.
So we're extra giggling and giddy about that, and just excited to talk to each other. Christina, you are a certified psychic medium, energy healer, and a spiritual strategist. I want to get into the history because you have a really wild and interesting history, and I only know the very surface of it. But like, tell me what all those things mean and what that is. What are you doing?
Yeah. I mean, words are so limiting. So it's funny,
Yes.
like, I've rebranded these words so many times, and really you just have to experience it to be able to deeply understand it. But of course, I want people to understand generally why you would feel safe to step into my space and work with me and collaborate. So the psychic medium seems like something a lot of people know. I have all the psychic abilities like clairvoyance, clairsentience, all of that, to be able to tap into your world, your energy, your realm, and kind of looked at the past, present, and future to see what is unfolding for you. And the mediumship part of it is really just I communicate with your spirit guides, and that can be anything from ancestors, which is commonly known, to angel babies or energy, or like your new house could have its own spirit guide energy. So I just tap into that realm of communication and kind of channel what those guides have to say. And then I work on your body. Your body holds so much wisdom and also resistance. And so I can feel in your body what you're feeling, kind of when you started feeling that, and then release it so that you can live your best, highest self life and feel better at the end of a session.
Yes. And you guys, I can attest to that. We did a session the other day and 2 days ago, right? And for anyone who's been paying attention, I have been dealing with this like very serious snake phobia. I mean, it's something I've been dealing with my entire life, being afraid of snakes. But now that we're here in North Carolina, they're around more than they were, shockingly, when I lived in LA in the concrete jungle. So
famously devoid of snakes that you are actively visiting.
Yes. And it was top of mind for our session that we did because I had just seen a second one, and it's something I really want to get over. And it is this like feeling of panic and terror in my body, and not obviously when I see the snake, right? But just thinking about it, just looking out the window, looking for it like this. And it was kind of this consistent feeling. I had gotten a little better since the first time I saw one, which I had had that feeling for days. And I was like, is the snake under the bed? Is it under the couch? Like irrational, fucking crazy things, right?
On a plane.
Right. Are the snakes on the plane? That actually has brought me some like joy. Like, and my coach said that, like said the famous line, like, get these motherfucking snakes off this motherfucking plane. And I was like, okay, maybe all this was worth it just to hear you say that. But my body felt so unsettled and unsafe, right at the base of it. That's one thing that we got to in our session. And Christina and I shared this with you via text. Like, after our session, I felt so different from this thing that I've been like, how am I going to heal from this? How am I going to get through this? And I'm determined to, but the edge that it took off of my body, my heart, my nervous system is such a blessing and such a gift. And I can still think about the snake. I can still look for the snake, but my body doesn't have a reaction right now. And I am it's huge. I'm so freaking grateful. And it was so powerful. And we just did a quick little 20-minute session. And so all of that to like validate you are so powerful, and to say I'm so freaking grateful, because it will be a huge step in my healing of this major and final phobia.
I couldn't be smiling any wider. Like, that is the gift of me stepping into this work, is to just watch people and their courage. Like, you were brave, right? Like, we really went there. You had to feel into what was feeling and deeper. And it's really a testament to you and the energy work that you're available for, and the belief system you're available to break down and change. And so when I hear that, you know, you've healed so much of it and you feel better, like, that's the best thing that I could possibly hear, and that keeps me going day after day.
Yes. Let's talk about that for a second. When should someone see a psychic or see an intuitive healer?
Yeah, so I named my business Spiritual Curiosity because I love a skeptic. I love someone who's like, I'm not necessarily into the woo, you know, but I have a sense there's something else, or I've had like a experience in my life that I can't really explain, or I've gotten a sign from my father that was like, who passed, that was like too hard to ignore, or whatever it is. And so it's just an invitation to kind of step in if you're feeling a little bit like, I don't have clarity right now, or I'm thinking about like, a lot of people come because they're making a big transition, and maybe they've worked with a career coach or an acupuncturist or whatever, and they're like, something deeper is happening, and I really want to like look at that.
Yeah.
The other thing is, like, I deeply believe everybody is psychic, intuitive, all the things, and have these gifts. And so maybe they're looking for people to really see them and understand, like, how they have this deep inner knowing and whispering, and like what to do. And then lastly, of course, if you're feeling like physical discomfort, working with the body, people come to me for that too. And then just like out and about, you know, just
yes.
meeting me. Like, hey, you want to come hang out in a session? Yeah.
And what shouldn't people expect from a psychic experience?
I don't want anyone to not feel empowered. That, like, the best thing I can hear from people is like, you know what? I knew that. Like, this wasn't a huge surprise. It's like, they're like, yes, I did have a sense of that. And so, and then people in active trauma, or who recently had someone pass away that they're in active grief over, that it's not like quite settled yet. You don't want to jump into those realms like too quickly. But yeah, other than those things, I think it's for everybody. And that's kind of the fun part of this work. And you don't have to understand any of these like terms or really get it. You just have to say, yeah, I'm curious enough. I'll go for it.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. I think a few things came up. One, I have to tell you this funny story, or like it's interesting now, and it's funny that it just came up before I was fully tapping into my gifts. Probably, I guess it would have been like 6 years ago or so. My mom's partner died suddenly, and he had a lot of weird things to the relationship, but he had some money, and he had always told my mom that that she was in his will. Well, he dies suddenly, and there's no will to be found. And so I flew back to New York for a week and helping my mom dig through. This guy had he owned a business. He had every receipt that he had ever gotten, physical receipt for his business, like keeping his books handwritten, like going through an insane amount of paper. He had like magazines, hunting magazines, Playboy magazines from like the 1960s, like all just stacked, all this stuff in his office. We're going through all this, and I'm like, whole time I'm like, I don't think there's a will. And she's like, he said there's too much like stuff to not have one. He was older, you know. we spoke to so many psychics, dude. We spoke to so many psychics. And it was like a desperate time. And my mom was very desperate because they weren't married. They'd been together for over 15 years, but his family, as soon as he passed, were like on top of it. His family, who he didn't even speak to, were on top of it, and they wanted stuff, you know? And so my mom was like super desperate. Her nervous system was like, I just still don't think it's recovered. And we spoke to at least 4 individual psychics. And then I had a girl who worked for me at the time. Actually, her mom was in like some psychic group where they were like learning how to be psychics. And I had this whole group of women that we took this to. Never found the will. There was no will. Never found the will. But it's like,
about this?
Yes, please do.
With my spidey senses. I think I know the answer, but the goal of going to the psychics was to find the will and get an outcome, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a hook there. That's blocking.
Yes.
A lot of this work is about surrender and actually completely radically letting go of the attachment to the thing in which you're doing. So a lot of my sessions, if people come in with an agenda, like, sure, we can call up your grandma or look at the things. Like, I have done remote viewings with people who have lost items, but it's pretty casual sometimes, like a lost passport or whatever. But when there is such a deep psychic connection and attachment to a physical thing that you feel like you're outsourcing your power and your resources to that thing, and it's wrapped up in love and disappointment and, you know, abandonment, or like, you know, all these things I'm assuming is part of it, you block the receipt of it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I'm sure you know this, but it's worth saying, like, to listeners too, like, when you come to a psychic, like, I need this, like, find it. I need you to do it for me. Like, I know it's there. That happens. But really what I would do in that situation is like, let's completely let go of it. And when I tell you, I can't guarantee it, but Brooke, the amount of people who are like, as soon as I did that work with you and completely let it go, I found it.
Oh, yeah. Because it's all energy, right? It's all energy. And so the energy, and that's kind of where I'm coming from now and sharing that story, is like, looking back, I'm like, oh, the energy, we were never going to find it. We were never going to get an answer from a psychic with this kind of like, you want a very specific outcome. You're not willing to listen to anything else. All you want is one answer. Tell me exactly where the will is. And it's like, so much was wrapped up in it. And and it's like, what is a psychic even supposed to do with that? And nothing else could come through that she wanted to hear. So I guess that's a good example of like when to not, or how to not approach a psychic experience, right?
No, I love it. And I have so much empathy too. Like we should want outcomes and goals. We should have attachments to like our North Star and how we want life to go and things that we want and things that we want to find and all of that stuff. Like, it's not, we're going to be human about it. You know, it's not to say, oh, I'm just going to live in enlightenment and bliss and not want for anything. It's like, no, we do have a goal. It is to find that thing, or to like, you know, at least understand it more of like what's really happening here. It's more like, like a tool in to these goals is kind of, just really kind of unwinding the way that we approach it energetically. And so I just think, again, like, it's not realistic to be like, I'm just not going to want anything, you know, or, you know, manifesting isn't the most aligned thing to do. It's like, no, let's create your best life 100%. Let's do it. But how are we doing it from a grounded place? Or have you cleared out any emotional trauma? You know, let's start with the body first and then sort of like work our way up to this like, expanded spiritual experience. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that's one thing that I love about your work is like, you can also quickly identify where there's discomfort or dis-ease or, you know, a lack of flow in the body, and help with that so that then people can hear your message, the messages coming through you in a clearer, easier way. Like, it feels like it lands a lot better versus just sharing the message if someone's not physically prepared to hear it.
Thank you. There should be a gentle landing with this stuff. I don't believe in doomsday readings either, you know. Sometimes things are none of our business. You know. Right.
Well, and I think that's really interesting too, because in my readings, I don't see much doomsday. I don't see much negative. I don't really see any negativity.
Yeah.
And even things that I understand as a human are bad being like the most basic word I could use right now, but like that don't feel, of the light, we'll say, like they don't feel that, they don't have that same energy when you're reading them and just bringing the message through. I don't know. Am I saying that clearly?
You totally are. I think part of the nuance of what you're saying is free will. Like, I truly can see a path in which if things continue the way it does, or if there's blocks or resistance, yeah, things might be unnecessarily challenging. But if we look at the other paths available, which are infinite, then we can start to choose and create and unblock the path towards the place of the most ease. And I think you and I have this in common, where we really see the highest good and the highest path for your highest self with the highest power involved. And so we're able to reflect that. It's not to say we can't look at the things that are in the way. And it's not to say I don't deliver difficult information, but it's just to like bring it up and bring it out, and away and release it. And so yeah. And again, like you and I agree, like this, like everything is light and love. It's like, no, like things are really hard, and we can look at things that have happened that are past traumas or difficult, like scenarios upcoming. I can't tell you the amount of people who are like, ugh, now I have to move. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, that things like that's hard.
Yes.
And we can do it, and it's gonna be okay. We can do hard things. I think Glennon Doyle says that, and it's so real. Or we can do it scared. It's something I love to bring into my life. Like, yeah. So I'm rambling, but I think that's kind of the nuance is what we're talking about. Is like, there's no book of fate.
Yeah.
You can decide.
Yes. And I think that part of our jobs is reminding people of that. Like, hey, you get the opportunity to decide in every moment. In every moment. And that's why I love the third title that we shared, that's yours, that you have given yourself, which is spiritual strategist. Because one, I want to hear more about what that means to you, but I think it's so necessary, and I think it gives much more like meat and foundation to what you do. So it's one thing to like give people the information, right? That for me, starting early days of my psychic readings, I was like, this is incredible because I can give them this information, but then it's like, what do they do? A lot of people don't fully know what to do with it. And so now my work has evolved to more helping them through, like, okay, here's how we align with that path. But I love that title. And can you tell me a little bit more about what that looks like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. It's a fun title. I feel good about for now.
Exactly.
Well, so something I've been really excited about lately that I'm doing is like, I guess you could call it like a coaching container, right? You work with me for 3 months, and the goal is, again, to empower you to use your own abilities, to be able to communicate with your spirit guides, to use your intuition, to take action on it, to improve your relationships and go into transitions with more courage, to look for signs, like all these things, and heal your own body, right? And I really think sometimes when you just come for like one session, one off, you're looking for something, and it doesn't empower you to do it for yourself. And that's where I get like the ick with like cults and gurus. Like, it should never be about me. It's about you.
Yeah.
And so if I step back as sort of like the strategist to say, okay, I'm going to meet you where you're at. It's not devoid, of course, of like my psychic hits and things like that. But I'm really like teaching you and giving you training wheels and then taking them off. And by the end, we have a strategy of how you uniquely approach the imprint of your own spiritual life and path and expansion. And so I really found that it's just so helpful, like over time. And then I'm excited about the workshops that I'm doing. Oh my gosh, this has been so cool. So I get groups of people together, and I sort of give like a little bit of a high level, like what's intuition, what are spirit guides, what's your body, what's a higher power, all that stuff. And then we set off in people sharing and opening up, and I'll give them sort of what vision I saw, but I lead them in their own journey to meet their own spirit guides to get information, and then
Yes.
they talk about it, and there's so much magic that happens when groups come together where I'm just the facilitator.
I
I'm
love
just
that.
kind of looking and kind of weaving the stories and making sure the conversations are flowing, and it's incredible. And upcoming, I realize I want to put, just like you mentioned, getting psychics, people who are ready and a little bit more advanced who've worked with me, together to practice their psychic abilities on each
Yes.
other.
Yes.
So that's launching
Yes.
soon, and I can't wait. I can't wait.
I love that. And that's something I speak to a lot. Like the group experience, like there's just so much opportunity for expansion and expansive moments when you bring a group together, especially of people who are excited and willing and ready to learn and grow.
Yeah.
And I would love to be in that room and be a fly on the wall and
You're invited.
just be, okay, yes. How do, like, for the listeners, I mean, one, obviously we'll link any info that you have about those groups and those sessions because they should all join. But like, how do they start to tap into their own, we both believe everyone has gifts far beyond, like intuition is where it starts, but let's start with intuition.
Yeah.
How do they start to tap into their own intuition?
Yeah, there's a few inroads to this, and it's sort of like a holistic set that you want to look at. The first is identifying, like clearing your own channel. And what I mean by that is sort of emptying out anything that is there that doesn't serve your clearest communication with divine source, whatever, your spirit guides, your intuition, whatever you want to call it. And if you think about it like a radio frequency, you want to get your radio frequency dialed to the same radio frequency and vibration of the information coming through to your intuition. And the more clear that is, the more clear the channel becomes, right? So the first step is like, what are my emotions? Where am I feeling them in my body? And Brooke, this is hard for people, right?
Yeah.
And again, for me too, like I was completely dissociated and disembodied from my own self because my intuition, my sensitivities, my traumas, whatever it was, I was just like out of my body. And so getting people to feel safe enough in their body to determine what their feelings are and what their emotions are, then being able to say, okay, well, how much of this is not mine? Am I actually carrying like some collective stuff? Am I wrapped up in some drama? Am I carrying my partner's emotions, my child's, my boss's, whatever it is? And so clearing that out. So it's like first clearing, then.
Which we talk about. It's so funny because I'm going through this with a couple of my clients right now. And it's like, we just spent a minute and a half talking about it, but that's some serious work. That's some serious work.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't think it's responsible to just open up to all of these realms and like without being grounded in your own body and self and understanding. Like it just can go so haywire, and it's so much harder to like close it as well and get like regulated again after this because it's crazy. Like this work is nuts. Go bananas. Like
let's I want to keep going on this, but I want to dig into that for a second. Like that it can go haywire. What does that mean?
Like, I have clients who will do meditation journeys, and they are often running into like other realms, or they'll go into these deep, will go down into these like records of like all of space and time. And there's just no centering of like, how do you control your own information for things that are serving what you intend right now?
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, you can get, say spirits of other places and people that like really aren't there to talk to you. They're just sort of like energy that you could that could hook on to you. And like, you just go and you just feel like dizzy afterwards and not grounded and sort of like, where did I go? You should not feel like that after talking to spirit.
Yeah, I got the visual of like swimming through like really mucky water where you like can't see, you can feel there's things around you and you're in a different energy, but you can't really see.
Yeah.
And I love that breakdown that you just gave because it's like, yes, if you are whole and centered and then are experiencing energy and receiving information, it's going to be a very different experience than if you're walking into it in chaos and fear or confusion or having a lot of unresolved emotions and baggage.
Yeah. And that's why it's good to have support like you and me. You know, like we're here to guide you through it. Like this stuff is not meant to do alone when you're first practicing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But to that point, the other thing that can guide people to their intuition is looking back on the historical records of
Yes.
when they've
Yes.
ignored their intuition.
Yes.
It is usually
Yes.
very easy to prompt people. Think of a time where you just had a gut feeling and there was no logic to the information that you were feeling could be true. In fact, you just dismissed it because you thought that's crazy or just a fear I have. And then it went exactly awry like you feared or thought it might.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone
Mm-hmm.
can give an example or many of that.
Many.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I
you're
have
like, well,
many.
that was your intuition. You
Yes.
got information of like
Yes.
what I want. And the other thing is or the intuition feels so exciting that you think you're not worthy or you don't
Mm-hmm.
deserve it or that can't be possibly this easy or.
Yeah.
And so that really helps of like, oh yeah. And then sort of like, where did you feel that? How did you feel that?
Yeah.
Did you, you know, and kind of guiding people through like what intuition looks like for them in the moment.
But I love that where you started is like create a clear vessel.
Mhm.
Create a clear vessel. I don't think that I could have, like, obviously I was getting intuitive hits and like had gut feelings and had little things my entire life, but it wasn't until I really committed to
Mm.
letting go of the stories, letting go of the baggage, shedding the layers, to getting whole, really, to being whole.
Yeah.
And that wasn't like, it wasn't like okay, I'm going to be whole now and like snap my fingers. It was a journey, right? But it wasn't until I really committed to that and knew what that energy was, even if I wasn't in it at all times.
Yeah.
I was like committed to doing the work, to being in that energy, that I started to open up a really clear and easy channel. So to me, it's like that work is necessary to even really tap in properly.
Yeah, 100%. And to the point, it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be this harrowing, you know, oh gosh, this is a big hill to climb. Like it can happen pretty instantly just by shedding awareness on it and being the witness to your own inner world. That's why meditation is huge. And part of
Yes.
what I teach as well is like, how do you watch what's happening and not identifying with your emotions? You are not your emotion. Your
Mm-hmm.
emotions are visitors in your house that you're welcoming, getting curious about, and then kind of passing through. And a lot of people through meditation can understand at least that concept of what it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go back a little bit and tell me about the journey to getting here. You have a ton of experience. You've seen clients globally. You have experience in all these different modalities. But I imagine there was like quite the path to to getting here.
100%. Um, of course, you know, the biggest thing is I listened to my intuition. I've taken big leaps to get here. And every step of the way, I was never really afraid to like burn it all down and start over
Mm-hmm.
again in my career. And I think that's a big part of it too. And again, it doesn't mean I wasn't scared. It doesn't mean I wasn't doing things wrong. You know, it just means that I just kept going. And I had a long career in Silicon Valley in tech, and there's so much exciting about that, like helping build companies, you know, seeing incredible growth, being in collaboration with people, getting to client face, you know, working with people. And I think part of the gifts that I brought to a lot of this client facing career work that I did was I could deeply connect with people in a way that I saw my peers weren't
Yep.
necessarily doing. And on
Yep.
top of that, deeply connecting with the team internally of like making sure, you know, what's going on, like with our energy and synergy and, you know, whistleblowing things where I was like, I just see this as messed up and I'm going to cause a problem because I have to say it. Like, I just saw myself like so obviously, like, I didn't really over time fit in that, um, yeah, puzzle piece of like where it went. And as soon as I get like unhappy or just to start be curious about what if I didn't do this, then I'm like, well, now I can't unknow that.
Yes.
I'm going to
Yes.
explore it. So I changed
Damn.
careers and I
I
was in the
know.
creative field after being on like the business side. I'm like, that's what I need. I need to be creative. I need to write. I need, you know. and did that for a while. Started working at San Quentin Federal Prison as a volunteer in narrative trauma healing groups. That was a huge
Wild.
experience. Wild. So I was working with incarcerated veterans who were some of the most vulnerable, expanded, brave humans to just really face some of the most horrific things you can imagine happening to a person who were incarcerated for life based on the crimes that they had committed, for most of their life. And that really opened up like, okay, if so much can shift in this type of environment,
Right.
where, yeah, society deems this the worst, darkest place, then what's possible for all of humanity, right?
Wow. Let's pause there for a minute because that is actually incredibly powerful. It's like we are destined to shift into our highest timeline, or to work towards shifting into our highest timeline, and to be the light no matter what our circumstances are.
Yeah.
Right? Like that is where we're going and where we want to go. It's just a matter of like how willing, how quickly are you going to get there? Is it going to be this lifetime, or is it going to take another 10 lifetimes? Like that's such a really beautiful experience and like aha moment and share.
Yeah, it is. There's something that felt so calm to me being in that environment, because there was no like small talk. There was no like pleasantries like that were unnecessary. It was so raw. You're completely stripped down as a human being in that environment. And then we're in a group, right? And so these men were sharing with each other and feeling the healing power of that. And,
Wow.
I really just served as a witness and to this, which is powerful in itself. But like this was really about them and them facilitating the work themselves and sharing and all of that. And so, yeah, there's this feeling of like, and I think part of why I've drawn to this work, and I'm sure you are too, is like we just cut to it.
Yeah.
There is no fluff. Like
Yes.
we're just going there, and I'm gonna say things about your life that you've never told anyone, and here I am unearthing it, and you're being seen in it, and there's no judgment, and we move through and we move on. And yeah, I think that's part of what really opened up. I'm like, I feel comfortable in this, space.
Yeah.
And there, why, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then during the pandemic, people were really suffering, and I felt I could help. And so I started doing tarot readings for people and communicating with their spirit worlds. And that started going really, really well.
I love it how tarot is always a gate opener. And it's also like, why have we, like, as readers, healers, spiritual teachers, and also as the receiver, like, why has that become more acceptable, like faster than other things? Like
Yeah.
their
don't you
cards.
think people just like the party trick of it? Like they can see
yeah.
it. It's sort of like, let's leave it up. Like, let's remove Christina and like let the cards speak. It's so fun. And it's like, sure. I do it with my niece. She's 2.5. And we meet on FaceTime and we'll play tarot and we'll shuffle and she'll go, stop. And then we
Oh,
go
yeah.
on top of it and read. It's so cute. I mean, all ages. I really love it.
But it's like, and then there's like more of a willingness to trust it too. And it's like, babe, I got these cards off of Amazon. Like, like, why is it like, why is it a lot of people's like first most acceptable form? And I don't expect you to have an answer. I'm just like, it's entertaining to me that is like.
And there's like runes, there's tea leaves, there's palm readings. I mean, people love all that stuff,
Yeah.
I think it brings like another level of mysticism to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. The listeners will have to tell us. Like,
and maybe because it's a visual thing too, and people like, it's like, okay, it's not just you coming from what's perceived as like your head and you saying it. It's like, because the cards never freaking lie.
No.
Dude, they never lie. And it actually, I get mad a lot of times for myself because I'm like, these are not the cards I wanted today, But I know from pulling cards hundreds of times and from the times I've used them with clients, I know the cards never lie.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, this is not what I wanted to hear today.
But part of too, like if you read the explanation of each card, or like say you throw it into ChatGPT or AI, it's so important to have a good reader of the cards because they're not only like using the card as a prompt, as a way in, but they're also
Yes.
reading the person, right? They're like,
Yes.
I'm saying like, okay, what intuitively is going on? What specifically does this mean for you?
Oh,
And like, I
yes.
think people are like, it says all that in the card, and it's like, well, no.
No.
This part still is
Yes.
true, but I just
Yes.
pulled the Two of Cups for my friends who just got married. I did like a little ceremony and
Aw.
pulled it, and it was like we cried because it was like of all the cards in that deck,
Yes.
that is about sacred union and marriage and soulmates and like blessings around all of that. And that was literally from the explanation of the card. I didn't even
Yeah.
have to interpret it, right?
Yes.
And I mean, yeah, come on.
I yes. I love it. And it's all so much fun. Like it's all so much fun. Tell me about the tools that you love to use, or like the way you speak to you connect with guides, or tell me about what your world looks like.
Yeah. You know, again, I think I've been in a lot of spiritual communities where they're like just over the top in ceremony and sacredness, and everything has to be like dedicating your whole life to it. Like I'm
Oh
a
my
real
God.
person, like
Yes.
from Massachusetts. Like when
Yeah,
I started,
exactly.
like, come on, I don't need to live in this I'm just all the time, an open vessel. No, like I open and set a container for myself and say, like, this is when I'm opening, and at the end of this session, we are going to close. Tools for myself when I'm blocked is definitely like journaling. Music and dance is huge for me to like feel my feelings and be present with myself. But for clients, like I used sage and Palo Santo to clear. Again, people like tactical things. I have a little crystal forest that people choose from when they walk into a session.
Love that.
Shamanic drumming. I just got this beautiful drum from a Native American man in Oregon, and it is like my favorite way
Oh
to
my
like go
God.
deeper into meditation. That's really great. Sound bowls. I'm not a sound bowl artist, but I really believe in the receiving of that.
Yes.
Music
Yeah.
is huge. I'll play music in the background. Yeah, so those are some tools. And then tarot, of course, sometimes.
Yeah. And similar to the tarot, I think everything that you just shared, it's all a catalyst to connect,
Hmm.
right? To
Yeah.
connect with the divine, to connect with your own intuition. Like, I think, even just you said the music and dancing, like there could be a word in a song in the song
Hmm.
that brings something up, or an emotion that comes up, or something when you're moving your body that
Hmm.
gets triggered, or you feel something. And it's like all we have to do is observe, like be willing to observe, notice, ask the questions, and be present with these things. And like you're off to the races. Like we're getting so much information all the time. Just like you said, you don't have to open this big portal and do this whole big thing and light the candles and, pray to all the gods. Like we're getting information all the time. It's
Heard
like,
it here first. You
yeah.
don't have to do.
I mean, yes. I mean, some of the smells I don't even have the time for. Like, I don't
Yeah.
even want that stuff near me? Also, I have a 2-year-old who anything that I put out, like my cards all of my tarot
Yeah.
decks and oracle decks have fingerprints on them. And it's like, none of this is like, this is just all integrated into my life.
Yeah.
But it's up to us to choose, are we willing to be quiet enough? Are we willing to tune in? Are we willing to be present enough? Are we willing to follow the threads, follow the words, ask the questions? And like that is actually so simple and easy.
It's so true. I'm like kicking my feet with excitement listening to you say this because even if like say that you just think this is all placebo, right? And like what is this even? It's a hoax, like fake. Whatever. Let's just say like the biggest of skeptics. There is nothing that stops us from being like, what if you just look at this from a different perspective? What if that song had more meaning to you than just I like it? What
Mm-hmm.
words do you like? why do you like that phrase? How are you bringing it into your life? Are you missing something in your life that evokes in you? Why are you paying attention more to birds lately? Like, what does it bring up for you? It's just, like you said, taking a pause and just being like, what if everything was magical? A little bit more
Yes.
magical than you think. And that
Yes.
doesn't mean that it has to be magic. Like, the way you forget your keys, the way that what activates you and gets you really mad, what do you feel bad about when you just had a conversation with someone that you loved and something just didn't feel aligned? Like, what if you just look at it all and just say, like, what's
Mm-hmm.
for me here to know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's such a brilliant way. And then everything just gets to be like, oh, well, there is more meaning to things that I'm drawn to, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I love my husband sometimes is like, everything doesn't have a meaning. Although he doesn't say that anymore because he's so much more roped in than he knows,
Yeah.
than he's aware of. Like
Yeah.
when we first moved, he started talking about the energy here, the vibe.
Mm.
When I would say like we've quantum leaped, he'd be like in on the conversation with me. Like
Yeah.
he's a Scorpio. So
You'd
and
love to
a
hear it.
Pisces rising, so he's like probably has far more skills than I probably have. He just, hasn't
Yeah.
fully tapped into them.
Yeah.
But what was the moment? Like, what was the moment where you're like, "Oh, I'm psychic. Like this is something. There's something more here, and I should use this gift to share and help others."
Yeah. I think, this is a good comment on society not accepting, like, at least when I was growing up, like what that even meant. And at first it was just a way of being. It was just something that I did. It was just I would talk about the future as if it was already happening. And then
Yeah.
people would respond and I'd be like, what did I say? Like I don't know. It just was like breathing to me, right? And it wasn't until people started reflecting to me like, that's crazy. You literally predicted this or gave it words or like labeled me in the way that I just was. And then, so I started to understand myself through the mirror of others,
Mm.
explaining, like, no, this isn't normal, or at least it's not normal enough that it's talked about. So I like to joke that I like came out of the closet as a psychic because
Yes. Yes.
like I always was.
Right.
I didn't have the language, or people would react like, that's weird, I don't get it, or, whatever it might be. So yeah, I mean, always. Like, I could give you thousands and thousands of
Mm-hmm.
examples
Mm-hmm.
of stuff that's just bonkers, that I could predict or know. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, always, and just as I grew up. Yeah. What
Yeah,
about
and
you?
I would say similar, and I would say that it, like, very much as a kid, especially like big picture, big like future stuff. Like, I grew up in a really traumatic childhood, abusive experience where I had no, there was just no way out. I had no say over anything that I was doing, over anything that I was experiencing. And I just, like, that little girl, like, she just fucking knew. I knew I was going to like, I just knew I'm going to
Hmm.
get out of this
Yeah.
and my life is going to be really, really good.
Yeah.
Like, there are some really big things that I just knew.
Hmm.
And I think
Yeah.
that, and I did have like guides with me then when I was young, helping me. I had a lot of time alone, a lot of time in silence when I was a kid, and it was actually such a gift because I never felt alone. Like, I had this relationship with, and I don't think I knew to call it guides or anything as a kid, but I just like felt the energy around me, and I just knew, like, I'm a victim of my circumstances and location right now, but like, this is like so temporary. And I knew as a young kid too, I knew, like, this isn't that I'm not doing anything wrong. This isn't
Yeah.
about me. This is them. This is their stuff. Like,
Mm.
just like a lot of wisdom
Yeah.
as a kid. And I
I
think we
love
go out
that.
into the world and we kind of lose some of that, or at least that was my experience. I kind of like lost a little bit of it as the noise of the world and the emotions and all of that. And, spent becoming an entrepreneur put me right back on that journey of like facing the things, and had plenty of catalysts that made me like really dive in. And being a part of being a part of a startup or running a business, like it is a very spiritual journey.
Yeah. Looking back,
And
for sure.
you can't deny it, and you just can't deny it. So
No, you bring up
yeah.
a good point. Like a lot of people who have been catapulted into this as a result is a result of traumatic situations that push you to be highly attuned and highly sensitive and to predict, when things are going to go wrong or when you're going to be unsafe. Like you have to be hyper attuned, and opening the aperture of that lens at a young age, you open to so many other things. If you're opening
Yes.
to energy that can't be like spoken or seen, then you're just open. And so you're going to get a lot of information. And a lot of times, like children as a coping mechanism will go to the spirit world for not an escape, but like you said, support. Like same thing. I had a really like sort of grew up in a religious background at the time, and angels were a huge symbol for me. And I was like, that's what I see. That's what I have. Like, I know it. I talk to them. And yeah, it's like, it's a gift. And part of, the work that we do is like, how do you open to that without the like catalyst or trigger of trauma of being highly sensitive?
Yes.
Autistic
Yes.
people, we know with the telepathy tapes, like this is coming out,
Obsessed.
like how,
Yes.
yeah, highly attuned. What a gift that neurodivergence is to be in different like realms. And so it's an opening to that. And it can be overwhelming and scary. It's why a lot of people shut down or don't do it. But yeah, it was like we're pushed off a cliff of, I have to be highly attuned in order to keep myself safe. I
Right.
need to find something
Right.
to keep me safe beyond myself, beyond the caregivers that have been around me. So I think it's a very common story of people who get there, quickly.
Yeah. And I think that you and I both are a part of a group that hopes that like it doesn't have to be that way for the
Correct.
future,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like our children or our future generations can just be
Yes.
tuned into their wisdom
Yes.
from the very start and be
Yeah.
accessing this energy and these universal truths from the very start.
Yeah.
Not have to go through the trauma and
No,
the
you should
drama.
not. 100%. Yeah, you should be just a regular person. Like,
Yes.
that's why I love that it's trending. Like, I'm so here for it. Like, let's go.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is a regular person. It's just like, hey, okay, we have additional senses that we haven't focused on yet. But like you were talking about the clairs earlier, it's like, okay, I can see things beyond my eyeballs, right? I can hear things beyond like what's physically around me making sense. Like I know things, information comes to me like that is actually like very normal. It's just that we've like made these rules of how the world works and what we are and who we are and how we operate. And it's like, who fucking says? Who says? Like,
But why?
who decided this? Like, who? You know?
I've always, to a fault, challenged authority or things that were told to me. Like, I was just like, no, I know what feels true. It's not to say that I feel like I'm right all the time.
Right.
I didn't always just believe, like, no matter what people were telling me, the way
Yes.
things were. I challenge it, and yeah, sometimes I'm wrong and sometimes I'm really right. And
Well, and I think a lot of people are feeling that right now. I feel like, and I know you're tapped into universe, like the energy of everyone too, the collective energy. Like, I just like get really giddy and excited about it. I feel like there is this awakening happening of the collective, and like
Yeah.
everyone's just slowly starting to like, I don't know, shake off this fog and be like, wait a minute.
yeah,
Like, why are we doing things this way? Why do I have to do this? Like,
Yeah.
who am I and what do I want out of life?
And that's
You know?
unsettling for people. I think a lot
Yes.
of people who aren't in this spiritual world and don't do the work or don't already know about it are sort of like, I don't have time for that. That's like way, I don't know what to do with that. So I'm just gonna like not, and I'm just gonna
Yes.
keep on keeping on. And I think that's why it's so important. And the strategy part of what I do is like, let's give you action items. Let's make this like digestible. Let's take this in the steps at the rate of your nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just going to blow the door open. Next thing you know, you're getting a divorce. Like that's not going to serve you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
so
Yes.
yeah, it's like, how do you make this stuff accessible to people who are like, I can't tell you the amount of times I'm like, I want a reading, but I'm just so scared what I'm going to find out.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You get that, I'm sure.
It's also like, because you already know what you're going to find out.
Literally.
Literally. You already know the truth and you're running from it. Yeah.
But just knowing like, that's okay. We don't have to do anything about it, but how are you going to support yourself and honor your intuition to say, okay, I really hear this, but I don't need to do anything about it today.
But you're putting words to something really important, and I think that the audience should know, like, this is the difference of working with an experienced psychic, someone that has the right intentions, someone who is like divinely guided on this path and is doing it for the empowerment and the expansion of others. Like, this is because you could blow someone's life up instantly. You could give them the information to blow, but it's nuanced. It's nuanced. And just because you see something, let's use the divorce thing for an example, just because you see like you're going to get a divorce, you should get a divorce, doesn't mean that someone can't do the work to make that change, that energy of that change. And that's where it's so important to do this work with someone that you trust and that can use that discernment and knows the nuances of energy and our choice and creation and all of the other freaking spiritual words, like it is so important. And I like just thank you. And I'm so grateful you're out there guiding people in this way, because it's the world is weird, but the spiritual world is getting weirder and weirder every day in like a different way than the weird that it used to be, right? And it's like starting to feel more and more accessible, but it's like not all psychics and guides and healers are created equal.
Yeah, thank you. No, I agree. We could talk about this forever, about psychic integrity and taking advantage of people and all of that. And I'm pretty passionate about it, and why I try to keep improving myself and making sure I'm in integrity and taking the courses to understand different systems and modalities of working with this stuff. Like, it's important. And I can't tell you too, to your point of like, anything is possible, and saying like, just because we see a path to divorce doesn't mean you can't change it. And when you do the spiritual work, like by the time someone gets out of the container of 3 months of like working together with me, they change so completely that there's like this magnetism where their partner, without trying to change their partner at all, that is not our goal. It's none of our business to change your partner. Everything starts to shift and you're relating completely differently. You're starting to have sex again for the first time. You actually are listening to like, you're softer, and it's creating more conversation and connection, and like all of these like miracles happen as a result of you showing up for yourself in your own spiritual work. And accountability. I can't tell you the amount of times where I've worked with one partner and the other partner comes in like, what are you doing? I want it.
Yes. I love that. It all really does come back to self. Right? Can you work, because you get the opportunity to create the life you want, 100%. Create the reality that you want. And I think that brought up a really good question, which is one of the things I think, we'll end with, is instead of asking a psychic, like, is this real? Are you real? Instead of us, society, like having that question, like it should be like, what do you do to maintain your own spiritual integrity? Like that's what you should ask your psychic. Like how are they maintaining? Because it's constant maintenance, right? And we are making choices every day to be in integrity, to be a clear channel, to do this work in a way that is serving and to the best of our ability. I think that's more of the direction of questioning we should be asking psychics and people that we work with.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I agree. Like, is this person safe? What are they doing themselves?
Yeah.
Yes. But I will say, like, big asterisks on that. A lot of people that I work with, if I've shared examples of my own life where I struggle with, soothing, like trying to make a decision, for example, and I like can't see what to do and I'm all caught up in it. And I'll say, oh, it's so hard and I don't always know. And they'll be like, wait, what? You struggle with the same things? And it breaks my heart because I'm like, the fact that I haven't shown you that like I can
Right.
talk about this work because I'm living the work
Yes.
and that I'm a very
Yes.
imperfect human being and I struggle often and but this is the way that it works because it does work in the end.
Yes.
It's so important to also be
Yes.
like, I don't have the answers. I just have a way that has worked because I have been a human going through
Yes.
the fire of this life and
Yeah.
experience.
Hi, I'm human. I'm a human.
But I mess up all the time and I'm confused all the time. And,
Yes.
so I think that is part of the integrity is authenticity of really bringing that. So
Yeah.
I encourage like people like to be authentic about themselves. People who are doing this work as a psychic and a healer, like to be real ourselves and just to say what's worked and what hasn't and offer options and guidance. And that's all we can do.
Yeah. I will say it's always easier to be a channel for someone else than it is yourself
Yes.
because
Oh my God, why?
because of the human pieces, because our
Yeah.
freaking human brains, feelings, emotions, insecurities, whatever, we have all the things, right? They get in the way. And even though we know we can hear it, we still question it. First, when I'm reading for someone else, I don't question it.
No.
I just deliver the information. It's not my job to question it.
Yep, I'm not involved.
Yes. But when I'm getting the information for myself, I'm like, that's not really how I wanted that to go. So like, maybe that's not right. Or,
Yeah.
well, let me ask again tomorrow and see if that changes. Or, it's like the joke, like, okay, you've shown me 20 signs. Now show me just one more sign. Just show me one more sign,
Yeah.
This has been so much fun. I have one last question for you.
Yeah.
You have 10 seconds with someone to, expand, impact their life. What do you say to them?
Ask yourself, what would love do?
Yeah. I mean, yes, that's huge. That's huge. And now, the moment everyone's been waiting for. Are you ready to announce our big news, Christina?
Can't wait.
Okay, you guys, we are so excited. Obviously, you can tell Christina is incredibly gifted in many ways. We've been, spending time together, sharing each other's gifts, and we are really excited to launch a new series together within the Expanders Club podcast. So you can still come here to find it, called Ask a Psychic, featuring both of us. Christina, do you want to take it away and tell the people what it's all about?
Yeah, I think, a lot of times we talk about these things and people can't quite understand, like, what is it, no matter how, if we spend 45 minutes talking about it or not. So this is a way to actually see live in real time what working with a psychic looks like with a specific question. So we're inviting our listeners to come in and engage and ask a question, and then Brooke and I will be able to use our unique talents to deliver some more clarity, to talk to your highest self, to give you a path, to talk to some spirit guides, to heal your body, all in a condensed format. And so I think it's really important to show what this is instead of just talk about what it is, and make it more accessible to people and have a lot of fun doing it together.
Yes. Yeah, we're hoping to start to pull the veil back on a lot of, not just our psychic readings, but a lot of things in the spiritual world. And, as Christina said early on, she deeply believes that everyone has this wisdom, everyone has these psychic skills. And I do too. That's one thing that we both very much agree on. And, I think the more that we can open things up and show you guys behind the curtains, the more you'll start to agree with us as well.
Yeah. And too, like we talked about having a counterculture to spiritual toxicity, right? Of like really looking at the fluff and the woo and just bringing it into real terms and yeah, kind of going against the grain in terms of what spiritual influencers are or whatever it is. So we have that unique perspective as well.
Yeah, let's make this simple. Let's make it accessible. Let's show people like you can do this. You can tap into this too, like this wisdom, this energy. Like we all are reading energy all the time, whether we know it or not. And so like, let's just bring that awareness forward for everyone. And it's going to be fun. Like I cannot wait to hear the questions people ask us. And I think there's just going to be a lot of expansive moments in it because like if someone's asking a question, it's probably a question that most of the listeners have or have had at some point. And I think while we're going to be pulling information for specific people, you can't, as like, because we're doing it in this platform, you can't help but get wisdom that will also be useful for the collective.
Oh my gosh, the synchronicities are going to be incredible, y'all. You're going to be like, this is exactly what I needed to hear.
Yes,
This is the
yes.
exact moment I needed to hear it. So it's for
Yes.
all of you.
Yes. So stay tuned. We'll be announcing, you'll see some episodes start to roll out with all of that soon. You'll see some promo materials, and I can't freaking wait.
And me too. Let's do it.
And this was just such a beautiful warm up, Christina. I'm so excited for everyone to hear this, but not only this information, like we could have spent 4 hours here talking. Like,
Yeah.
I'm excited for this audience to get to know more about you, your gifts, your style, the wisdom that you're bringing to the world in such a beautiful way. So excited for it all.
I'm
Thank
excited
you.
with you and your community. I can't wait to get to know them better. And I'm just so grateful for the invitation and making it easy to say yes to you.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for spending time with us today. And, can't wait to see what the future brings.
Yeah, stay curious, everyone.
All right, guys. We'll see you soon.